Last weekend, Battle Spirits Saga had its first official tournaments. Here are the pie charts for the top cut of North America, Europe, and Australia, respectively. North America's was top 32, while the other two were top 8. At the time of making this video, I'm unfortunately missing the top cut for the launch event in Latin America, but here are the deck lists for first and second place. As you may have noticed, Red was very popular in these events. Both Nova and Pterosaurs were able to snag a good chunk of the top cut. Nova especially was very popular, and there were many different versions of the Nova deck. You have the more control-y version of the deck that plays Dark Bishop Baculus in the main. This card combos well with Nova to help it clear more spirits on attack. Then you have the more aggro version of the deck, which is probably the most interesting one to me. It plays a bunch of the free spirits, like Bearded Eagle and Dragno Guard, for both early game pressure and to combo with Scorched Battlefield to draw you cards on empty board states. And for a finisher, it plays Derm Dyna. Did you know that Derm Dyna can use its effect to make itself unblockable? Yeah, turns out this is a good card. There were a lot of people that were also sideboarding this card. I also want to show off this unique Nova deck that was splashing white with 4 Pegasyon and 4 Namangard. A bit of a spoiler for when we talk about white, but Namangard is a very good card. And then you have the Pterosaur deck. The one I'm showing here got second place at North America. This is a pure version of the deck that plays all of the good Pterosaur and Emperor beasts. I say pure version because there were also people that were playing the Zigworm Nova package in their Pterosaur deck. A big reason why this is possible is because of Red's tremendous amount of draw power, including the best card in the game, in my opinion, Star Blessed Draw. Turns out 4 cost draw 4 is really good. Get used to seeing this card in a lot of decks, both red and non-red. But of course, it wasn't just red at the tournaments. There was also a lot of purple, and by far the most successful version of purple was Soul Control, which won both Latin America and Australia. Baculus into Curse Dragon is a game-winning combo. We knew this was going to be the case, but Baculus is just a good card in general because it plays so well with most of other purple's cards like Spider Demon, Mordred, and Core Theft. What was surprising to me was the fact that most purple decks were playing Beldegor. I didn't think there was room for Soul Control to play this, but it turns out you make room for this because Beldegor really is that good. I admit, I underestimated it. The purple curse deck did see some success, but not nearly as much as Soul Control. Here's one of the curse decks, and you'll notice right away that it's very similar to the previous purple lists. That's because it's also playing the Curse Dragon Baculus combo. Yeah, it is that good. But now I want to show you the more unique purple decks. The first being Aggro. It features the low-cost free spirits in Demo Bones, Skullfly, and Bone Scout, and it also has one of my favorite cards from Dawn of History, Dread Knight Nemesis. But, of course, even the aggro deck is playing Curse Dragon and Baculus. And then there was this purple-red deck. This plays 2 copies of Zigworm Nova as a late-game finisher. Remember, Nova can proc its life gain effect by ascending on top of itself. It's also funny that Blazing Boar is a 4-cost spirit for Beldegor's Immortal effect. But the biggest surprise for me was white. If you've been keeping up with my channel for the last month or so, I basically said that white was going to be the weakest color going into release. Based off these tournaments, I am happy to say that I was wrong. White is good. Very good. So good that it won both the North America and Europe launch events with white control. The goal is to survive the early stages of the game and have Enterprise, Fanatec Elk, Namangard, and Head Ice Maid Fola to have this almost impenetrable defensive board, especially against purple, that passively deals damage through Fanatec Elk's level 2 effect. What's interesting about both of these first place decks is that they only play a single copy of the Namangard Nexus. The idea is that you only want to see this in your opening hand and never on the draw, especially in the late game when it's dead. Most of the other white control lists were playing 3 to 4 copies of the Nexus. These were the only two lists that were playing the Nexus at 1, and they both got first place. Aside from white control, to my surprise, there was also white aggro. Turns out white did have enough good early game spirits. Sorry I doubted you, Bullet Ray. And of course, Derm Dyna is a really good card. In fact, a lot of white decks were playing this in their sideboard for the mirror match. But in an aggro deck, this card really shines. A couple more white decks I want to show off. We have this white-purple deck that made it to Australia's top 8, playing the white control cards in Elk, Enterprise, Namangard, etc., while also playing the Cursed Dragon Baculus combo and getting to play the Stolly card Netherworld Depths. And finally, we have a white-red deck. This one has Flamefish as an early game play, and Volcanic Canyon to help draw into your Elk, Enterprise, and of course, Namangard. The biggest takeaway for white is that Mecha Beast Fortress Namangard is a really good card. So good that even non-white decks want to play this. At this point, some of you may be wondering, what about yellow? There were a total of 2 yellow decks in all of the top cuts. Unfortunately, it seems that yellow is the weakest color in Battle Spirit Saga. At least for now. Both decks were 2-cost Fable Beasts, an aggro deck revolving around God Beast Behemoth. Probably the most interesting of the two is the one that made it to top 8 with a splash of white, playing Enterprise and Namangard. Again, Namangard is really that good. Aside from that, there's not much to say. Yellow just had a rough time at these tournaments. I'm disappointed that Michaela and Luster seem to be such a flop, but what can you do? Overall, while purple did show up and win, it was not this great super threat like I thought it was going to be. Red, while it didn't win first in any of the tournaments, it showed up in equal if not greater force and proved itself to be just as threatening. And white also proved to be an absolute powerhouse in the control playstyle. And yellow was the biggest loser of the 4 colors. I'm excited to try out some of these decks once Battle Spirit Saga is released on April 28th. If you like this video, hit that like button and subscribe for more Battle Spirit Saga content. Until next time, laters.